guys, it's Jeff here. This week I'm testing the 2018 Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R SE model. This is the highest spec road going version. It's got a fair few goodies which you can see in the full tech breakout on the bike in my review, but just briefly, it's got forged alloy Marchesini wheels, and it's got Kawasaki's KECS electronic suspension, an electronic Olin steering damper, different paintwork, special body paintwork, and a few other little bits and pieces. Now, Kawasaki are claiming it's the highest tech electronic suspension system currently on the market for road going bikes. So I've been up here today fanging up and down this road all morning, running through all the different settings, the presets, and playing with manual setting, and I'm very impressed by this system. Today is my road test. So I started off in road mode, which is really amazing. I've got an old Fireblade, as a lot of you know, and it's got really old suspension, so it's really soft and comfy, and every time someone has a go on it, they say, wow, this thing's great, it's got good geometry, but really soft suspension. And riding modern sports bikes, we forget about comfort and ride quality on the road. A lot of the time we have to revalve and reset up our suspension for road riding purposes, but obviously then we lose out on the track, or when we really want to get aggressive on the road. This thing's incredible. So road mode, the suspension in road, it's really plush, it's soft. I've been coming through some really bumpy country roads today to get here, and amazing. Obviously it's got a firm seat. It's a sports bike, so the old butt gets a bit sore, but you wouldn't ride around Australia on it. But it'd be a great, like typical Aussie style is ride a sports bike but tour on it, with a tall screen, and a softer seat. On that road mode, you could just ride it all day. Really impressed. It just soaks up the bumps, and it's amazing how they do it just with oil damping control only. So they've obviously got the spring rates pretty well sorted. I came up here then and I started to push it on that soft road setting, and it gets too soft with the Bridgestone RS10 tyres as well. Obviously you've got a lot of grip, you've got extremely powerful brakes, a lot of horsepower. So once you get it into full power mode and start getting aggressive, it's time to change the suspension. I then went to track, because you've only got road or track and manual. So I went to track and I went to the factory presets, and I kind of caught up to that as well, going up and down here, pushing harder and harder as I got a bit more temperature in the tyres, and then I found the front was too soft. So then I went into manual mode. This is very easy to do, by the way. You just pull over and just keep the bike running, and it takes 10 seconds. Manual mode, and I bumped up the front compression from 10 to 14 progressively, and I've been getting there, and now I'm really happy with it. And the back I've been happy with anyway, so the manual settings, I'm happy with the presets. So I've got the forks how I want them, the back's good, full power mode, put traction control on 3 because it's a little bit sketchy up here, and you'd be hard pressed to find a Japanese sports bike that would match this on a road like this. I really believe that. The ABS is amazing. I obviously test it purposely, but aside from that, in normal riding and pushing up here, you don't even notice it. Brakes are sensational. I'm a bit surprised at the amount of lever travel. There's quite a lot there, but I'm really impressed with the initial bite and the power of the brakes. Stability wise, this steering damper is amazing. Like I said, again, gnarly roads, lightweight wheels, heaps of horsepower. Haven't even had a head shake, not even over crests and things like that. The riding position is really comfortable. I mean, Kawasaki got it right. When I think back to the early ZX-10s, far out, testing them back in the day, in the first models, and how bad they handled on the road compared to how good they are these days, it's amazing. Kawasaki have got this bike so nice. It's really well balanced. You know, it turns in fast, but it's really neutral. It falls on its side. It goes from, you know, upright to that full lean really nicely and progressively. There's no bump steer. It doesn't want to run wide off corners. It's just a really good bike. The tyres help there a lot. They're a fabulous tyre, but overall the chassis is great. Again, riding position, 185 centimetres. I've got plenty of room. I mean, the pegs are high, it's a sports bike, so we don't forget that. Let's talk about the engine. I've been riding the H2 SX SE last week, and I said how it's the fastest thing I've ridden on the street for, you know, for ages. But I haven't been riding thousands a lot since I busted my knee, and I just haven't been riding them that much lately because there haven't really been any new models. Plus I don't race anymore, so you know, I got a bit of a shock on this morning once I was in full power mode and giving it, you know, the berries. It bloody hammers, and it's definitely faster than that supercharged bike. Obviously the lightweight and 200 odd horsepower or whatever they are, it's just off its brain. I've got the shift light set to 11,000 RPM, and that comes up really quickly. And then you know, that quick shift is amazing, and you know, you grab the next gear before the rev limiter, and it's hard to hang on to it. You've really got to hold on to this thing. You've got to squeeze the tank with your knees and get those pegs, dig your feet into those pegs and hold those handlebars, because it just keeps pulling and pulling. It's crazy fast, which is super thrilling, super exciting, and very impressive. And this is standard. Can't wait to ride it on the farm, which is what I'm doing tomorrow. So yeah, today's my road test. So power delivery in full power is obviously quite aggressive. I started in low power this morning, did my commute up here. It was a bit wet and cold, and low power is very soft, feels like a 600 and flat before 8 grand and a little bit up top, but yeah, it's really nice and soft and easy to use. So you'd probably use that a fair bit around town and on the rainy days. I bumped it into medium when I got up here for a few laps up and down the road, and medium's a little bit snappier on the throttle just initial opening, and a bit flatter than full power to 8 grand, but then it's quite good up top. So, but I'm not really sold on medium. I'd kind of just be below low and full, because when you get into full power, you've got a really nice throttle. You've got power there instantly when you want it to balance the bike and pick it up off the turns, and an insane top end that you just would put a smile on your face, I can tell you. The fueling's beautiful. The only time the bike doesn't seem smooth is at idle. It's got a really raw, really rough idle, very raw and lumpy in any mode. The quick shifter is fabulous. It's instant, it's very fast, up and down. Yeah, I can't fault that at all. Hasn't missed a gear, haven't had any problems at all there with that. Clutch is really light, the clutch is really smooth. Engine's been running around 70-75 degrees so far today, so everything is quite good. So the road test definitely gets a thumbs up from me as a sports bike, because you can have that compromise of the soft suspension. I look forward to riding it on the farm and see how it performs with a bit of grip, a bit of aggression on the proving ground. there you go, guys. Plenty of testing on the road, and now I've been up here at our proving ground, doing lots of laps, trying all the different suspension settings, all the electronics, different traction control settings and bits and pieces. Where I've settled for is manual suspension mode, and I had gone up a fair bit harder than the standard track mode actually, but now I've come back down a bit. So what I could definitely say is for high level track day riding, this is really good, this setup, and you can definitely find what you need. Although I do need to adjust preload at both ends. That has to be done manually. If you're racing, I would think you just need the standard manual setup, not the electronic suspension, just because it doesn't take much pushing to go beyond sort of the steps. They're quite wide steps. But as a road bike, unreal. Like, I mean, I literally rode up here in comfort and you know, flick it to track mode, bump it up a little bit, went out there, pushed hard, came back a bit on the forks, back out again. Then I changed from full power back to medium because the throttle's a bit too snappy in full power through these S's and in some of the off camber tricky corners. So yeah, that was something I didn't notice too much on the road, that throttle, but here it's definitely very snappy. Control to level 2, and it's actually, I've been letting it just do the work for me, so it's been working overtime. The ABS is fantastic, fair bit of lever travel. Look at that, that's after probably half an hour of doing laps non-stop here. You can see how far that lever's coming in and see how spongy it is. So that's a bit of a disappointment. It's hitting my knuckles there, and I've wound it to the maximum span. So but I will say this is very hard on brakes here. But the ABS hasn't affected me in any way, hasn't made me go deep into any corners. The rear brake's really good. The up and down quick shift is fantastic, faultless. The engine braking control into the corner I've had on 2. The thing's as stable as anything. On the gas over some of the bumps on the exits. This electronic steering damper works really well. So overall, an amazing motorcycle for the class, especially Japanese 1000cc bikes. So it's near as competitive as the Yamaha M1, which is a really very different bike to ride. The tyres are really good. The dash is no good. You can't read the dash, forget about it. As soon as there's a bit of sun on it, you can't see it at all. So that's a weak point, and that's been mentioned since this generation came out. This bike, the first time I rode it at Wakefield Park, I think I was the first in the world, the first Geno in the world to ride it. Everything else is brilliant, heaps of ground clearance, amazing. Like I said, I'm 90 kilos and I can find settings that are just so good up here. There's not much of a place that tests suspension as much as this joint, with direction changes and loading on the suspension and forces through it. There's big sweepers, there's tight corners, everything, and hard on the brakes and hard on the gas. Very impressive system. So well done to Kawasaki. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you like it, and comment if you feel the need so, and have an awesome afternoon. Thanks.